What's Morales from Black Women TV, talking to the directors of the Sundance film Aftershock, Paula and Tonya Lee. So talk to me about how this film came about, because, documentaries are never easy. Because when you started off, there is no end game as far as how it's going to end. So how did it come about choosing this subject matter to go over?
Yeah, well, I would say Paula and I both come from different perspectives into the issue of the U.S. maternal mortality crisis. Since 2007, I've been an advocate. I started off as a spokesperson for the Healthy Baby Begins With You campaign, which was an infant mortality awareness raising campaign here in the United States. I travel the country talking about infant health, learning a lot about infant health. And when you talk about an infant's health, of course, you're talking about a woman's health. Back then, I did a small film called Crisis in the Crib for the Department of Health and Human Services, and had been thinking about, had been talking to lots of women about women's health, and inevitably someone would tell me a story about someone they knew who had died from childbirth complications, and wanted to turn my lens on telling a story in that way. But it is a big issue, and I knew I needed and wanted a partner to help me figure out how to crack it. I met Paula, who is a wonderful verite-style documentary filmmaker, and she was already embarking on trying to tell the story as well, and we collaborated. And I'll let Paula tell it from her perspective.
Yeah, so I was drawn to the topic through my own experiences as a mom. I have 4 kids, and I've had traumatic pregnancy and birthing experiences, so I knew about our broken maternal health system. But it wasn't until the end of 2017 when a slew of articles started coming out and really talking about our maternal health system as a maternal health crisis, and how this crisis profoundly affects Black women. And I realized that when I was reading that what happened to me on an individual basis was happening at much greater rates to Black women. And I really wanted to use my skill set to lift up those stories and shed light on this topic. So, and then from the very beginning, I always wanted to partner up with someone who was grounded in the community and really work together on this story. So as Tonya said, I got it going, development funding at Concordia Studio, and very early on in that process, I met Tonya, and we started working together on this project.
There's a story, and then there's putting it together. And then how did you want to frame it where you're telling the stories of Omari and Bruce, and how did they come about? Were there others, or was it always centered on 2 people and their families?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it was originally Shawnee, who was Shamani's mother, one of the women who passed away. So it was always Shawnee and then Omari, and then Omari brought us to Bruce. And then we did also follow a woman named Felicia Ellis in the film who gives birth. And so there were other women who were birthing that we wanted to follow. But in terms of the families that were going through the process, they were the core from the very beginning. We knew that they were the ones that we really wanted to follow. And of course, they take us on a journey to other families as well.
Mm-hmm. And then when you're telling their stories, it's never easy for them to relive it and go through it. And then throughout the documentary, you're seeing historical facts, you added in there. What was the idea of adding in, going back like a 13, adding in stuff that happened that comes into now?
Yeah, I think, as Tonya was just saying, the lived experiences of our subject collaborators, Bruce, Omari, Shawnee, Felicia, are the heart and soul of the film. So they led the story, and then through their journeys, we then supported it through the 2 experts we see, Dr. Neil Shah, Helena Grant, and the historical context, which is Helena. So as we were uncovering their stories, we were realizing what we needed to go back and put in, because a big part of the story is how we got here. We start with the present. This is the crisis now, but as we show in the film, this has been going on from the founding of this country, and through the eradication of Black midwives. That is how we got to this place. So, yeah.
as I was saying before, with documentaries, when you start out, you never know how you're going to end it. So you have your story in place, you've got the people in place, was it already mapped out as far as how you wanted to end in terms of the message you wanted people to leave with?
I don't know that it was mapped out, but I will say that from the very beginning, we really wanted Shamani and Amber to come through. They were women who lived. Their deaths have a profound impact on their families and on our communities, whether we know it or not. And so what we did know was that we wanted to start the film with Shamani alive. We wanted you to get a sense of who she is and who she was. And so when we come back around to the end, we wanted to remind people that this is about people who lived. It does have an impact, a real impact on people. But really the other thing is we wanted the film not to be a doom and gloom film. It was really important to us that the film feel inspirational, as hard as the subject matter is, as sad as it is, as devastating as it is, that we can make this we can make birthing outcomes better in the United States. And thankfully to the people who have lost, because of their voices, we are in a position where maybe we can actually change this for the future.
As filmmakers, was it a bonus in a way, knowing that you were able to get footage of the women, to add into the film to give them context?
When we were given that footage,
Shout out Jasmine Giston.
Yes, Jasmine is Shamani's sister. She appears in the film a couple of times, but her spirit is in the entire film because all of that archival footage of Shamani was shot by Jasmine, who's a video artist in her own right and has been documenting her family for years. They have a YouTube channel. Like, this is something that she happened to be a filmmaker in the family. So when we found that out, it's a dream. It's like a filmmaker's dream. There's this treasure trove of a life lived. And that was so important to show that life lived.
Mm-hmm. And then throughout the course of time, as filmmakers, especially with a documentary, when you're doing a film, there's an A, B, and C, you have an end date. With this, you don't know where it's going to go. What did you learn in the course of doing this process that helps you along as filmmakers as you continue to go on doing different projects down the road?
It's a great question, Wilson. I will say this, and I think we know this already, but I think it was made even more clear because not only is it a documentary that we were making, but we were making a documentary through COVID. COVID hit, and as we were basically almost at the beginning of our process. So one big takeaway is you got to be flexible, you got to be nimble. You've got to be willing to go out there and try things, even if it's not 100% sure that it'll work. You just have to be really, really open. And I think as filmmakers, as documentary filmmakers, we knew that, but it became even more clear in our process.
Uh-huh. Yeah. What about you, Dawn? Anything, Paula, as far as what did you learn?
Yeah, I was just going to add to that it's using your limitations to become more creative, to figure it out. So, one of the examples of that is because we couldn't in the beginning of COVID, or, there are various stages of this pandemic when things were open, things were closed, but when it was really shut down, we couldn't do any filming. And we got our subject collaborators iPhones and they started filming themselves. And that was, such a beautiful thing in itself because it gives the camera to the people in the film. So even regardless of COVID, it's just a new thing to think about. And that's something that was really, really powerful to have in our film, to have their own footage that they've taken of themselves. It makes it much more collaborative that way.
And it must have been a blessing that, the film's complete. Now you got to get it out. Now you got to find a way to get people to know about it. Yeah. There's a million documentaries. Believe me, as somebody who covers movies, I get a lot of emails, a lot of press releases. There's never enough time in the world. So you always wonder how you're going to get people to see this movie. So it must have been a blessing when you get the call or the email and says you've been accepted into Sundance.
Oh my gosh.
Now people could see. So, you get this smile. What was that feeling like when you got the email or the call that you've been accepted?
Wow. Well, I'll tell you. Yeah. Well, first of all, again, we made this film through COVID on an abbreviated schedule with the plan that we were going to make Sundance. So, you know, as you may know, we had 2 editors on the film to try to make that deadline, and nothing is guaranteed, but we were like, we're going to do this and we're going to get it in. And to get that call to say that we were really in, I mean, I would say it's a relief. It was for me, for the families, it just to be able to tell the families that we had done this work together and that it's being recognized in that way was just so gratifying.
Paula, what was that feeling like?
It was a dream. As Tonya said, like you hope it's going to happen and you do everything, but it's Sundance. You know, you can have incredible films do not get into Sundance. It doesn't, you know, so it wouldn't even have been a reflection of the quality, but it's you don't know. And it was a dream come true as an artist, and to uplift the story and give it the platform that this topic and our subject collaborators deserve. I mean, there's no better place to launch a film right now.
The only thing I'd add to Wilson is that, you know, the Sundance community has been really supportive to us. We were at Sundance Catalyst. They've been really supportive of the film, of the subject matter. And we're just really grateful to the community for recognizing the issue and recognizing us as filmmakers and supporting our work.
Before I let you go, what's left after the film? You know, is there something in place for people to know about this project after the film is over, so people can learn, because this is a subject matter that rarely gets talked about?
We have plans to have a robust impact campaign. We're just starting with that. So, you know, Sundance is our very first incredible first stop on this road, but we will have an impact campaign for folks who want to do something right now, when they're listening this moment. Our website, aftershockdocumentary.com, will have in the next 2 days a take action page, which will link to Shawnee, Omari, and Bruce's foundations. They're doing incredible work in the maternal health community, raising money for postpartum week, building a birthing center in the Bronx. Like, there's so much to be done right now, so people can take immediate action. And then we're also going to be creating an entire impact campaign where activists and people doing the work can use the film to do their work.
So aftershock.com, is it aftershock.com?
Aftershockdocumentary.com.
Okay, so is that a place, just to clarify, where people who have gone through similar experiences can share their stories? Or is it
not quite set up like that yet? Right now, it's just set up as a page about the film. And as Paula said, we'll have a place where people can go and learn more about what Omari and Shawnee and Bruce are doing. But that's a great suggestion.
Mm-hmm. Well, in the meantime, ladies, congratulations. This is a film that people should see, to talk about. Obviously, as like I said, as filmmakers, you're going to continue to do something different, whether it be narrative or documentary style. Tonya, obviously, it's always great to see you. Paula, it's nice to meet you. Wherever you guys are at, stay safe, stay warm. We'll talk down the road.
Thanks so much, Wilson.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.